In the 1970s and 80s, Japanese mathematicians Shigeru Mizohata and Jiro Takeuchi proposed a conjecture to describe how the energy of waves spreads through space. For 4 decades, mathematicians tried to prove it. Then, in 2023, a 17-year-old high school student solved it.
These famous hard problems are not as hard as they seem. Hard problems are only really hard if you try them the same way that everybody else has tried them. But if you have new ideas, then these could very well solve the problem.
It is very unusual for such a young person to do such high quality level math work, much more so disprove a conjecture that the world believed was true.
I think that a lot of people see mathematics as a more sort of computational and dry sort of right or wrong kind of thing, but I wish more people would see it as sort of this collection of maybe puzzles and ideas. I think of mathematics as an art of ideas.
Harmonic analysis is the branch of mathematics that studies how complicated functions, like the waves that describe light, sound, and quantum particles, can be broken down into simpler components. It is one of the most active fields in modern mathematics, with connections to number theory, physics, and some of the deepest open problems.
Everything is made of waves, sound, light, matter. It's all made of different kinds of waves. We know very specifically what these waves are. What we don't know is how to put them together to get different things.
A central question in the field is what happens when you build a function out of waves that are restricted in some way, which is what mathematicians call Fourier restriction theory.
The Mizohata-Takeuchi conjecture sort of lies in an area of harmonic analysis known as Fourier restriction theory. Can we study the shape and size of objects from the kinds of waves that they're made of? The idea is that if you drop stone on the water, then it makes these circular waves. And if you drop 2 stones, the 2 circular waves are going to touch and they're going to make these interesting patterns. So the Mizohata-Takeuchi conjecture says that most of the energy is going to be concentrating along lines or along tubes.
Tubes are one of the fundamental structures underlying wave motion. As waves travel through space, their energy is organized into wave packets, compact bundles confined to long, thin tubes. By studying how these tubes intersect and overlap, mathematicians can uncover the rules governing wave behavior. The Mizohata-Takeuchi conjecture predicted that this underlying tube structure would place strict limits on where wave energy could concentrate. If you could understand how energy behaved along these tubes, the conjecture suggested, you could control it everywhere. For decades, mathematicians believed the conjecture could be proved.
I first encountered the Mizohata-Takeuchi conjecture on a homework set in a class that was taught by Rui-Xiang Zhang.
Hannah, I have to say, is the only student in my class who their dream to solve or disprove the conjecture. Many mathematicians hope to prove the Mizohata-Takeuchi conjecture, including myself. It's very natural to anticipate the conjecture holds, maybe because the conjecture holds in one simple case.
That case, where wave frequencies lie on a flat surface, is simple to prove because the wave propagates in one direction and travels perfectly along lines there. This suggested that a simple, flat geometry might be enough to control the behavior of other waves, such as light waves or sound waves, even when the surface is curved.
Mizohata-Takeuchi conjecture belongs to another world, where you cannot fully understand it just by tubes. You have to go a step further, and that's what Hannah did.
Hannah had to have a lot of courage to challenge the belief of the world.
It was sort of this process of going back and forth, like, okay, well, if I can't prove it, why can't I prove it? Well, I can't prove it because I ran into this problem here. So then can I make this problem a big enough problem that it disproves it? When I get stuck, I really want to understand what it is that's gotten me stuck. I think mostly curiosity is what keeps me going.
She is very creative. She likes to start from scratch. She proposed a very original approach. Back then, I was really excited that she may be really onto something.
To disprove the conjecture, Cairo needed to construct a counterexample. She looked for a specific wave function whose energy concentrated along a curve rather than a line, something the conjecture said shouldn't happen. She found a way to reformulate the entire problem in new terms.
So when different waves interfere, they form this sort of beating phenomenon. And what it means is that you'll sort of observe these other frequencies at the sums and differences. Everywhere we have a frequency, I just put a coin down. You can imagine a coin is just some amount of mass at some point in space. So every time we can write this difference in different ways, we put a coin there, and we get this sort of interesting coin diagram. This coin tells us where our energy is concentrating.
Many different wave interactions can land on the same curved path, so the energy builds up there. But along any single line, those contributions stay spread out.
And so the conjecture sort of, in some sense, says that we'll always have more energy on a line than on a curve. I found a way to arrange these green coins in such a way that we can get a bunch on a curve and not a lot on a line.
To cluster the coins along a curve, Cairo turned to a geometric object called a hypercube, a higher dimensional extension of an ordinary cube. When projected back down into 2 dimensions, the hypercube produces a pattern where many different combinations of waves line up along curves, but not lines. This is exactly what Cairo needed.
And it turns out that if you use a hypercube, you'll get a lot of energy, and that energy is going to be concentrated along a curve and not on a line.
It takes a young, untainted, unbiased mind to do that. She did what others found impossible for so many years.
In mathematics, one exception is enough to overturn an entire conjecture. Cairo's counterexample showed that what worked for flat surfaces breaks down for curved ones.
What's remarkable about Hannah's work is that her work shows this is essentially the only case, and all the other cases of the conjecture have to fail. This is very surprising. I was there when Hannah first talked about her result at UC Berkeley. She gave a nice talk.
It was probably the worst talk I've ever given. It was my first ever math research talk, and I just printed out my paper, I brought it in, and I brought some chalk, and I figured I'll just figure it out.
The result sent shockwaves through the field. A pathway researchers had pursued for decades was closed. But in mathematics, a counterexample is often as valuable as proving something.
Hannah's counterexample actually opened many new doors, both in this conjecture and in the study of waves, in the study of Fourier restriction that I'm really interested in.
To get a handle on wave patterns, mathematicians studying related conjectures will now have to move beyond lines and consider richer structures, including higher dimensional patterns, curved geometries, and more global interactions.
I think that most mathematical work is about intuition and creativity. I think that without creativity, we would not have new math, and without intuition, we wouldn't have creativity. I was homeschooled, and I think this was a very isolating experience for me. I didn't really have many people I could really talk to, and so math is a little bit of a friend in other sense, sort of like this world almost that I can just explore. It sort of has these infinite number of problems that I can think about.
She does not go by the rules. She creates the rules as she flies through time. Hannah is not just a mathematician. Hannah is a great human being.